Recording in progress. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So welcome, everyone. If you happen to be listening to this recording in 10 years from now, welcome.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to you. Thank you for...
I think we might be doing that. Actually, when we so old that we can't do anything else, we'll be just hoping to be listening to all these things.
Yes, yes. Right, so we are in Bhagavad Gita. And I was a bit organized today. I got my Bhagavad Gita up on my screen before we started. So I'm ready to go. So we have Sahachari. Yeah, we haven't heard you read for some time, Mother.
Yes.
Right.
Which verse are we reading?
We're
Chapter
on
3.
chapter 3, text 11.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Devan bhavayata nena te deva bhavayantu va parasparam bhavayanta sreya param avapasyata. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you, and thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. Purport. The demigods are empowered administrators of material affairs. The supply of air, light, water, and all other benedictions for maintaining the body and soul of every living entity is entrusted to the demigods, who are innumerable assistants in different parts of the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their pleasures and displeasures are dependent on the performance of yajnas by the human being. Some of the yajnas are meant to satisfy particular demigods, but even in so doing, Lord Vishnu is worshipped in all yajnas as the chief beneficiary. It is stated also in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna himself is the beneficiary of all kinds of yajnas, Bhoktaram Yagnatapasam. Therefore, ultimate satisfaction of the Yagnapati is the chief purpose of all yajnas. When these yajnas are perfectly performed, naturally, the demigods in charge of the different departments of supply are pleased, and there is no scarcity in the supply of natural products. Performance of yajnas has many side benefits, ultimately leading to liberation from material bondage. By performance of yajnas, all activities become purified, as it is stated in the Vedas, Ahar Shuddha Sattva, Suddhi Sattva, Suddha Dhruva, Smriti Lambhe, Sarva Granthinam, Vipron Moksha. By performance of yajna, one's as eatables become sanctified, and by eating sanctified food stuff, one's very existence become purified. By the purification of existence, finer tissues in the memory become sanctified. And when memory is sanctified, one can think of the path of liberation, and all those combined together lead to Krishna consciousness, the great necessity of present day society. Thank you.
I think we might have read this yesterday. Especially the end part sounded very familiar.
You also read in text 12. You read it yourself. Istan Bhogan Hivo Deva.
That's correct. Just see. Imperfect senses.
But you can discuss it because I wasn't there.
And if there's any questions or comments on this, then we're good, to make progress through Bhagavad Gita. But
yes,
if there is any,
I heard Shuri was saying something about duty yesterday.
Say that again.
I heard Kishori was saying something about duty yesterday. Duty.
Yeah, she was relating that for example, in a family situation, there may be someone there or some situation within the family which is very difficult to actually deal with. But because you're part of the family, then you're duty bound to tolerate, or you're duty bound to stay in that situation. Yeah, and that's sometimes, so is this we're highlighting yesterday, as we've done before, that sometimes sticking to one's duty is not very easy. But she was bringing up that example. Actually, she brought it up, and perhaps further, you can comment on this as well, Rajkishore, if we got this right.
Number 10 we were talking about, and that's when we discussed duty.
You was, I think we was explaining that sticking to our duties keeps things relatively peaceful. Not
Peaceful.
completely peaceful. That's called the spiritual world. So, but sticking to one's duty, and I guess not just that, but being respectful to one's elders, etc., and being merciful to the juniors and friendly to the equals, then it keeps things relatively stable. So then it's easier for us to practice spiritual life. Yeah. So
It's a kind of austerity which
yeah,
is to be practiced, whether we like it or not.
yeah,
And by practicing that austerity, toleration, we progress in Krishna consciousness.
yeah. Because you please Krishna, because you're doing your duty. Yeah, and you learn tolerance as well. So
Yes.
so Bhagavad Gita is such a wonderful example because Arjuna is faced with a very difficult situation, yeah, very trying and difficult situation, but he takes shelter of Krishna and he executes his duty, and he becomes free of sin from that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the next verse we should have started on next. Hope that's okay.
Yeah.
So that was yesterday. I read Eastam Bogani for Deva. I really like that verse. It's a really nice verse. Remember learning that verse. It was so exciting to actually learn it. And so text 13. Let's go to text 13. Unless there's any other comments on that, what we just read. Right. Any golden hands there? Mother Raj Kishore, you can read text 13
Yes.
for us.
Okay. Yagnashishtasina santo muchyante sarvakil vishay bhunjte te tomagam papa ye pachanti atmakaranat. Translation. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. Purport. The devotees of the Supreme Lord or the persons who are in Krishna consciousness are called Santa, and they are always in love with the Lord as it is described in the Brahma Samhita. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena Santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. The Santas being always in the compact of love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, the giver of all pleasures, or Mukunda, the giver of liberation, or Krishna, the all-attractive person, cannot accept anything without first offering it to the Supreme Person. Therefore, such devotees always perform yajna in different modes of devotional service, such as Sravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam. And these performances of yajnas keep them always aloof from all kinds of contamination of sinful association in the material world. Others who prepare food for self or sense gratification are not only thieves, but also the eaters of all kinds of sins. How can a person be happy if he is both a thief and sinful? It is not possible. Therefore, in order for people to become happy in all respects, they must be taught to perform the easy process of Sankirtan Yagna in full Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there can be no peace or happiness in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, this sounds very familiar as well. Did we read this one? Anyone out there can remember this if we read it?
No, we were on number 13.
Okay, okay. All right. That's Prabhupada is speaking about similar subjects in the purport, so it sounds quite familiar. Yeah, so from here, we can actually understand that people in general are supposed to be devotional. Yeah. Plus, yeah. A human being means you should be devotional, means you should be aware of the grace of God or the grace of Krishna and be thankful for the light of the day, be thankful for the air. And therefore, think Christians, they say grace before they eat food, but then there's a whole discussion what type of food they then eat. That's a discussion in of itself. But here, just by, we're supposed to, first, and everything that and that's what we do as devotees. We offer, before we eat, we offer to Krishna. I mean, that was a very exciting thing. I remember when I first was getting into Krishna consciousness, I set up this little makeshift altar in my bedsit, and I used to take my spaghetti up, and I used to ring the bell. It was very exciting, very exciting. I found it very nice, difficult. I couldn't really appreciate exactly what was going on, but it felt good. Whatever I was doing, it felt good. Yeah. So something to check ourselves. I think I mentioned this yesterday. There's some situations where we may lax in this principle. Then maybe, so just keep this in mind. Before we eat anything, or perhaps even if we drink anything, we should offer some prayers to Krishna. Okay, you may be in a situation where you have an altar, you can put it on a separate plate and ring a bell, there's a picture, but you may be in some situations where that may not be possible. You may be on a train, you may be with in-laws or something, or you may be kind of duty bound to go to a restaurant. Like that. Sometimes devotees in that position, it should definitely be a vegetarian fare, that's for sure. But you can always pray to the Lord. You may not have a bell, you might not have a picture, but the Lord's in your heart and he can still hear you, even if you don't ring a bell. The Lord will hear your prayers, your sincere prayers, he will hear. Yes. And interesting here as well, please, if someone has some reflections on this, well, please share. But here, what did caught my attention as well, that all the activities that we do are classified as yagna. Normally we just think about sankirtan yagna, but everything we do, walk into the temple, cooking, flower garlands, cleaning, whatever it may be, that's yagna. We are making a sacrifice. Chanting japa, obviously that's kirtan, that's quite obviously understood, but everything we do that's connected to Krishna is termed as yagna. Yeah. He says here, therefore, such devotees always perform yagnas in different modes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Yeah, so anything done in devotion is yagna. Yeah. Okay.
Here it says, you can only cook for Krishna. But what about when we have a family, members of the family? We have to keep in mind that I'm cooking for Krishna, but I'll also make sure that the members of the family are going to eat. Because if they don't want something and we cook it for Krishna, then there's no one to take it.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch. I was trying to understand the situation you're describing. Can you say that again? So the family, so like you're cooking.
Cooking for Krishna.
Cooking for Krishna. So you're cooking something at home and you're going to offer it to Krishna.
And then the members of the family are going to eat it.
Yeah.
But the stuff they want is not what I've cooked. They would want pasta and I would have cooked chapatis.
Well, it depends. Well, that depends. That's a personal thing. I mean, some devotees, okay, if they want pasta, you cook pasta and you offer pasta to Krishna. See, I don't know what standards you have at home. Perhaps it sounds like you have strict standards that you won't offer pasta to Krishna at home.
Yeah, we don't.
so then, what can be done? But you can offer. I mean, I don't. But that's your standards. I mean, I don't want you to bring your standards down. But Chandravali says she does.
I do because.
Well, I have to do it when grandchildren come.
Yeah. So I think the most important principle.
Yeah.
Most important principle is that they get prasadam.
Yeah.
So whatever it may be, pasta or baked beans, whatever it may be.
From the tin, so we can't offer tin food.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, pasta or pizza, which you can make at home.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever your standards are, at least somehow try and give them some prasadam. Make something that they can all eat, that they can't refuse. Something nice, which all the kids are going to go for. Everyone's going to go for that.
But then we are not cooking for Krishna, we are cooking for the grandchildren. See, there's two ways about it.
Yeah, that's true. But actually, yeah, but we're cooking for the grandchildren. But what are we cooking for the grandchildren? Prasadam.
Krishna.
Yeah, we actually want to give them prasadam. So prasadam means you're cooking for Krishna. Yeah. So you have to eat. Everyone has to eat, and all our dependents have to eat. So in that sense, that should be on your mind. They need to be fed. But at least let's feed them prasadam.
Yeah.
I mean,
Even at Avanti school, they give children pasta, pizza, and then chapatis and bread rolls and all that. So
Yeah. And Chandravali, Mother, you were saying?
I have the problem, I'm very fussy what I eat. I don't eat hardly Indian vegetables, and I'm really fussy what I eat. So I cannot make rice and chapati. So I have to just offer what I can eat in a way, because I'm on my own. Who's going to eat if I offer Krishna aubergines, stuffed aubergines? Who's going to eat it?
Yeah.
I mean, can't eat it.
Yeah, so we have to. We're going to have, or you are all going to have to make our own slight different adjustments according to the circumstances we are in. But the basic principle is let's try and everything that we eat, at least let's try and make sure it's prasadam. Yeah. Okay. So let Mother Vajka show you like to read, or did you just read, or?
I just read, didn't I?
Okay. Anybody else? I think Mother Mongol's on the road. He was just at the temple. Mother Lavangalataka, you can go ahead and read. Text. Let's get the text correct, shall we?
14, right?
Text
14.
14. Yes.
Text 14. Okay, thank you. Anad bhavanti bhutani parjanyada nisambhava yagnad bhavanti bhavati parjanyo yagna karma samudbhava. All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yagya sacrifice, and yagya is born of prescribed duties. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Baladev Vijayabhusana, a great commentator on the Bhagavad Gita, writes as follows. The Supreme Lord, who is known as the Yagyapurusa, or the personal beneficiary of all sacrifices, is the master of all the demigods who serve him as the different limbs of the body serve the whole. Demigods like Indra, Chandra, and Varuna are appointed officers who manage material affairs, and the Vedas direct sacrifices to satisfy these demigods so that they may be pleased to supply air, light, and water sufficiently to produce food grains. When Lord Krishna is worshipped, the demigods, who are different limbs of the Lord, are also automatically worshipped. Therefore, there is no separate need to worship the demigods. For this reason, the devotees of the Lord who are in Krishna consciousness offer food to Krishna and then eat, a process which nourishes the body spiritually. By such action, not only are past sinful actions in the body vanquished, but the body becomes immunized to all contamination of material nature. When there is an epidemic disease, an antiseptic vaccine protects the person from the attack of such an epidemic. Similarly, food offered to Lord Vishnu and then taken by us makes us sufficiently resistant to material affection, and one who is accustomed to this practice is called a devotee of the Lord. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness who eats only food offered to Krishna can counteract all reactions of past material infections, which are impediments to the progress of self-realization. On the other hand, one who does not do so continues to increase the volume of sinful action, and this prepares the next body to resemble hogs and dogs, to suffer the resultant reactions of all sins. The material body is full of contaminations, and one who is immunized by accepting prasadam of the Lord, food offered to Vishnu, is saved from the attack. whereas one who does not do so becomes subjected to contamination. Food grains or vegetables are factually eatables. The human being eats different kinds of food grains, vegetables, fruits, etc., and the animals get the refuse of the food grains and vegetables, grass, plants, etc. Human beings who are accustomed to eating meat and flesh must also depend on the production of vegetation in order to eat the animals. Therefore, ultimately, we have to depend on the production of the field and not on the production of big factories. The field production is due to sufficient rain from the sky, and such rains are controlled by the demigods like Indra, sun, moon, etc., and they are all servants of the Lord. The Lord can be satisfied by sacrifices. Therefore, one who cannot perform them will find himself in scarcity. That is the law of nature. Yagya, specifically the Sankirtan Yagya, prescribed for this age, must therefore be performed to save us at least from scarcity of food supply.
Okay, thank you. So some interesting points here. Perhaps we may not be conscious of this when we're taking Prasadam. Normally we're taking Prasadam when we call it quite engrossed in the immediate sensation of what we're eating, but actually it's protecting us from falling down. It's immunizing us, as Prabhupada has described here, from the contamination of the material world. So it's quite significant. We see that someone might start, this might be one of the reasons why one particular or some devotees find themselves becoming weak in their spiritual practice. One of the reasons is that they might be compromising this point and eating, or they might not, or not eating Prasadam. Good, and there's another point as well, is that Prasadam becomes Prasadam when it's offered with love, with a sense of gratitude. But if it becomes like a very dry thing and we just, we know, if there's no devotion there at all, okay, we're not expecting bhava. You know, Krishna won't accept anything less at the stage of bhava. But I mean, there may be sometimes when you offer something and you really, you know, there really ain't any devotion. It might not be. Anyway, I'm speaking for myself. I'm preaching to myself, because sometimes, you know, I've had the experience where sometimes I'm offering something if I'm at my ashram, and it's pretty quick, you know, it's too quick. You know, I'm just doing it out of expedience. And then sometimes, then I have to kind of, what do you say? I have to kind of check myself and just remind myself, oh no, I should offer this nicely. I should ring the bell and say the prayers and put my heart into it. And I've done that before, and my God, there's such a difference in what I'm eating. One time I concluded, oh, Krishna must have accepted this. This is just ecstatic, you know? So let's keep that in mind, you know. So it's very important that we take Prasadam. It should be Prasadam, and Prasadam means it's to make it Prasadam, we offer it with a sense of affection and love, or a sense of devotion, you know. Then Krishna accepts it, and that helps us to become free from the contamination of material nature. So that means we'll be less attracted to Maya. Yeah. Any questions on this? I saw Gaia's hand go up there. I don't know if that's a question hand or a reading hand.
No, I can read later.
Okay.
What about when we are in a rush? We just sort of show whatever we are doing.
I know, that's
show
the
to
problem.
Krishna and then get on with it.
Robert Abdab, thanks for the grub. Yeah, so we have to watch it. We have to be careful. We have to be careful. You know, did Krishna accept it or not? Well, Krishna's a person. Krishna's not a machine. It isn't just like if you ring a bell, he's just like a machine. Okay, I'll accept that because they rang the bell. No, Krishna's a person. So if you offer him something with love, then he find it hard. Then he will accept it. But if we're in a rush, and this is a problem, we're in a rush because often our life is kind of governed by the mode of passion. you know, as best as possible, we better not be in a rush. Let's be regulated. Of course, life happens and things happen. So sometimes we're compromised and something's happened, we're late or something, and do something in a rush. But does Krishna accept it or not? Well, that's questionable. You really don't know.
But can you also not, as you finish offering, sorry, Krishna, I am in a rush, please accept.
Yeah,
And
you can.
offering him
You
because
can, but whether Krishna accepts it or not, we don't know.
yeah, you don't know, but if you do, you have that devotion, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying,
Yeah.
when you do it, like really feeling it, that Krishna, I know I'm in a rush because I have to go this or do this or whatever. Please. Or you
Yeah.
also, if you are in a rush, you can quickly offer while you go and do a little bit of tidying up or something. So you're giving Krishna some time to eat.
Yeah, I mean, let's kind of take that on then. I think Chandravali's got a good point, and Bhagavad Kishore. I mean, there might be there is instances in a life where the offering may not be as it normally is. I can imagine in Bhagavad Kishore's case, there may be like 3 screaming grandchildren who have got to go out or something, and they ain't gonna wait. They don't want to wait 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So sometimes we may have to make some compromise, but let's hope Krishna accepts it. No?
And also, Prabhu,
Yes.
reciting the Prasadam prayer, I guess it's really important to understand what you're eating. But I recite this Prasadam prayer in the morning, and then during the day, I tend to
Start eating.
I don't really recite it most of the time, but I, pay my obeisances to the prasadam before I eat it. But I tend to recite it maybe once in the morning, and then I kind of skip it. I mean, I only eat twice more in the day. I'm not eating many times, but I eat breakfast and then lunch and have something later. So the next 2 times I actually don't usually recite the prayer.
Yeah.
Is
Well, I haven't heard it's an absolute requirement. It's not an absolute requirement. It's not like it's written in Shastra before you. I mean, Prabhupada's never said that. I haven't read anything from Prabhupada where he said before anyone eats prasadam, they should say this prayer. Although generally we do in the temple. So it's not an absolute requirement, but that's up to you. That's up to the standards you have. And so that can be done, or it might not be done. I had an interesting experience in Scotland. There's young people there who come they come just to do the farming, because they have an eco farm. So they're not coming to take part, or they're not coming to be devotees. They're like eco warrior types, and they want the experience because they get board and lodging. They can come stay in Scotland, they get somewhere to stay, and they get food, but then they help out on the farm. So it's this really nice preaching opportunity. I was preaching to some of them in a not such a direct way, but there's one boy, and I sat down. This was for breakfast or lunch, and I sat down, and there was no prayers said, and I sat down. I just dived straight into eating the prasadam. Then this boy sat there, and he's and he does meditation and yoga and all of that, and he sat down opposite me, and he put his hands together in a mudra, and for about 2 minutes he had his eyes closed. He was praying. And there was me steaming into my prasadam without saying Sadhu, without saying the prayers. I thought, wow, so there you go. I should learn from this person, Yeah, so as far as I know, Mobile Wangalataka, it's not absolutely required. It's really up to you.
Okay. Also, one other thing, it might be a little controversial, but I thought I would ask it anyway. Maybe you have some insight on it. He said, that sentence, when there is an epidemic disease, an antiseptic vaccine protects a person from the attack of such an epidemic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I found that this particular phrase, when the vaccines came out, was used as Prabhupada was justifying the use of vaccines. But he's not saying that there. He's saying he's liking it as it works like a vaccine, the Prasadam, but it's not like vaccines are okay. So I'm just wondering how that kind of came about.
Wow, that came about because of the situation we are in, the scaremongering, the alarming situation. It was quite difficult to know what to do. And there was lots of speculations, different quotes from Purport to substantiate both sides. Without getting into it too much, I read quite some statements where Purport himself on occasions refused to take vaccines. Anyway, without getting into the whole subject, sometimes, especially in times like that, in times of, I'm going to say, emergency or like unknown situations and circumstances, people get quite, what's the word? Divided, whether one's on one side, one's on the other, you know?
Yeah. But
And
I just thought like, some like, maybe you could call them leaders were quoting this phrase. And I was thinking,
yeah, it's a bit out of
well, he's not
context.
really saying it. Yeah, it's out of context. Yeah.
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 I mean,
So
I agree. It's but taken a bit out of context, you know. It's not exactly what Purport is not exactly making a complete statement about the vaccines from this one sentence.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah. So, but Prasadam is a vaccine for the material energy. Yeah. We eat Prasadam, we're going to be somewhat protected. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what does it happen when we eat prasadam? What about the demigods?
Well, they become pleased.
I
No?
was
This is the idea. It's the idea. But by serving Krishna, then because the demigods are all parts and parcels of Krishna, Krishna's like the root. Krishna's like the root. What's that verse? It's the root of existence. So by serving Krishna, then the demigods are pleased. So if you offer prasad to Krishna and you eat it, Lord Shiva is ecstatic. And if you offer some of that prasadam to Krishna, to Lord Shiva, excuse me, he's more ecstatic. It's the whole pastime, isn't it? With Lord Shiva and Parvati and Jagannath Mahaprasadam, just one grain that was kept on the finger, and it went into great ecstasy. So in answer to your question, Madhu Mongol, the demigods become ecstatic if you offer your food to Krishna. Yeah, and
So then on Shivaratri, if we bring some Charanamrita and we give to Lord Gardev, and the devotees, let's say, allowed to go and give, let's say, respect, then it will be even more happy, isn't it?
I've lost the first part. You're saying we should offer Charanamrita from Krishna to Lord Shiva on the Shivaratri.
Maybe I was just making a speculation. I was saying on that day, devotees are like, I heard they are allowed to go and visit a Shiva temple. Because Lord Shiva is the best servant of Krishna.
Yeah, you can go on any day.
Any day, yeah.
Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited, gave respects to Lord Shiva. Yeah, you can go any day. If you can go on Shiva Yatri, it might be a bit busy, but you're welcome to go and pay respects to Mahadev. And
When I go to Vrindavan, I always go to Mahadev's temple.
Yeah, and there's many forms of Lord Shiva in Vrindavan and also in Mayapur, who act in specific roles in relationship to the holy Dham. So yeah, you can pay your obeisances, give respect to Lord Shiva. Yes, why not?
Is it says in Srimad Bhagavatam, or I'm not sure exactly where, but when you go to visit Vrindavan, you should stop and shave your head at Yamuna and have a dip and then go to ask permission to Lord Shiva to allow you in Vrindavan. Is that correct?
I'm not so clued up on that type of details, but it doesn't surprise me that that's there somewhere in the Vedas somewhere. Although Gaudiya Vaishnavas might not follow that completely. Like, for example, they're more, you could say, use the word more spontaneous in that, for instance, when the devotees went to see Lord Chaitanya in Puri, the requirement is that when you go there, I think you shave and you take bath in a river and you fast for the first day. But as soon as they got to Puri, they all ran to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They all ran to see him and they took Mahaprasad from Jagannath, you know. So devotees of the Lord are not really bound to a lot of these rituals which you might find in regards to holy dharms and holy places. When you're welcome to, it's nice to do that type of thing, but Prabhupada never gave us that instruction as far as going to Vrindavan. Prabhupada didn't write a letter. I want all my disciples, when they arrive in Vrindavan, men and women should shave their head. No, there's nothing like that from Prabhupada. And Prabhupada's our founder Acharya, so therefore we are not obliged to do that. Also, those things, you will find them, no doubt. I'm pretty sure you're going to find them and more rules like that in the Vedas or in the different scriptures. Is that okay, Madhu Mongo? Okay.
Yes,
Any-
thank you. I stopped and now I will go back to my road. Thank you. Sorry.
No problem.
Yes,
Hare
thank
Krishna.
you.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Any other questions on this? Very interesting purple. Okay. Yeah, those who are, everyone was, anyone listened to class this morning by Jai Advaita Swami? Amazing purport, an amazing class.
Yeah,
Maharaj
it was
gave.
really excellent. I was there in person. It was
Yeah.
great.
Straight to
Nice.
the point, the absolute truth as it is.
Yeah.
And very much, I was thinking of him in regards to this second paragraph. Yeah. Where
Yeah.
Prabhupada is, therefore, ultimately, we have to depend upon the production of the field and not on the production of big factories,
Yeah.
etc. So the field production is due to, etc. So human society is dependent upon the grace of God, upon the grace of the Lord. And we are fooling ourselves if we think we're not dependent or we don't acknowledge that dependence. Yeah. That's why society is going to pot, as they say. So the only hope is Krishna consciousness. Yeah. The only hope. Okay, let's read text 15. And Mother Gaia, you can read.
1 second. Text 15.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I have it. Karma brahmodhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajne pratishtitam. Synonyms: karma, work; brahma, from the Vedas; udbhavan. Oh, we don't read synonyms, do we?
No,
Sorry.
you could just
Yeah,
read the
translate.
translation.
Sorry, I'm used to that. Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. Sorry. Purport. Yagnartha karma, or the necessity of work for the satisfaction of Krishna only, is more expressly stated in this verse. If we have to work for the satisfaction of the Yajna Purusha, Vishnu, then we must find out the direction of work in Brahman, or the transcendental Vedas. The Vedas are therefore codes of working directions. Anything performed without the direction of the Vedas is called vikarma, or unauthorized or sinful work. Therefore, one should always take direction from the Vedas to be saved from the reaction of work. As one has to work in ordinary life by the direction of the state, one similarly has to work under the direction of the supreme state of the Lord. Such directions in the Vedas are directly manifested from the breathing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is said, Asya Mahato Bhutasya Nishvasitam Etad Yat Rigvedo Yajurveda Samavedo Tarvangirasa. The four Vedas, namely the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda, are all emanations from the breathing of the great personality of Godhead. Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad 4.5.11. The Lord, being omnipotent, can speak by breathing air, for as it is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, the Lord has the omnipotence to perform through each of his senses the actions of all other senses. In other words, the Lord can speak through his breathing, and he can impregnate by his eyes. In fact, it is said that he glanced over material nature and thus fathered all living entities. After creating or impregnating the conditioned souls into the womb of material nature, he gave his directions in the Vedic wisdom as to how such conditioned souls can return home back to Godhead. We should always remember that the conditioned souls in material nature are all eager for material enjoyment. But the Vedic directions are so made that one can satisfy one's perverted desires, then return to Godhead, having finished his so-called enjoyment. It is a chance for the conditioned souls to attain liberation. Therefore, the conditioned souls must try to follow the process of yajna by becoming Krishna conscious. Even those who have not followed the Vedic injunctions may adopt the principles of Krishna consciousness, and that will take the place of performance of Vedic yajnas or karmas. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so any questions or comments about this or reflections? A bit of a technical verse, we might say. So where is Krishna? Where is he situated? He's situated in the prescriptions that he gives for mankind. So this is speaking about his omnipresence and his omnipotence. Yeah. And now it may take some purification to actually realize the fact. But here it's speaking about regulated activities prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas come from the Lord. So therefore, the Lord is present in yajna. And he mentions a few other things here. Yeah, the omnipotence of the Lord, his presence everywhere. Yeah, I know in here it's mentioned that at the end, okay, we have wayward desires as conditioned souls. That's part and parcel of being in the material world, is that we want to enjoy. Yeah. Okay, fine. But do it according to the Vedas. Do it under direction of the Vedas. That's why Prabhupada says here, by the Vedic directions are so made that one can satisfy one's perverted desires. Now, perverted desires is not the context that we understand perverted desires today. You know, someone is a pervert. Anyway, I won't go. It means, well, that's a strong word for saying perverted desire is any desire that's not directed, that is not focused on giving pleasure to Krishna. So karma yoga, so karma. So then you engage, yeah. So what you like to do or what you want to do, you do it under the direction of the Vedas and under the authorization of Krishna. Like, for instance, was that verse I mentioned it the other day, the conditioned souls in the material world always inclined to sex, meat eating, and intoxication. Therefore, religious scriptures never actually recommend such activities. Although Sastra provides through sex, through sacred marriage, through meat eating, through rituals, acts of rituals, and through intoxication for accepting ritual cups of wine. But one should understand that these things are ultimately meant to be given up. Yeah, I forget this Sanskrit, might come to mind in a minute. Yeah, so there is prescription for dovetailing your material desires and in such a way that you ultimately become free from them. Yeah. So that's what is meant here at the end. The Vedic directions are so made that one can satisfy one's perverted desires and then return to Godhead after having finished his so-called enjoyment. So Prabhupada's being a little bit sarcastic here. So-called enjoyment. Real enjoyment is to be in your constitutional position, serving Krishna in selfless love. That's real enjoyment. So Krishna's very kind. So he's speaking again that verse, Sahayagna Pajishvatva. So the Lord has arranged things in such a way that everything should be done through yagna, and then everything you need will come by the grace of the Lord. But that doesn't happen mostly today. And that's described in the next verse. Those who don't, follow this process.
I
Any
just have one
question? Yes,
question then.
please.
So how can, I know the Vedas are like prescriptions for how to act in this world, but how can you have material enjoyment and make progress on the path? It's kind of, material enjoyment means separate from Krishna.
Yeah, it is. So, but we have to, so in other words, we have to accept, for most, we are not going to be able to completely surrender because we have too many attachments. So therefore, for a lot of people, there's a process by following which gradually your attachment will become slackened. Yeah. So for someone to take completely to a practice of unalloyed, unadulterated, selfless devotional service is not really an option for many, unless they're highly qualified from a previous life. Therefore, at least for instance, if someone is attached to sex life, okay, get yourself married. Yeah. Live in a regulated way. For instance, Vivaha Yagna. Do the Vivaha Yagna and do it in a regulated way. Yeah. And then gradually, and then that in itself, as Prabhupada says here, then that will lead to detachment. And from that will come knowledge. Then that will lead to detachment. And then that will eventually lead to a higher level of practice, as in Anyabhilasta Sunyam, Jnana Kamade Anavritam. Yeah. So depends, so according to the covering and to the disease and how much one can, what's practically possible for someone. Yeah, most people, if they come to the temple and you tell them you have to give up everything, and it'd be difficult for them. So sometimes we have to accept the medicine that's appropriate. And then gradually they can come to the higher platform. Yeah.
I can give you an example.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Like I go away with family, like Shamila's parents and its sisters, mother-in-law, and lots of like that to they get a house, like a cottage with lots of rooms and things like that. And all of them are devotees, but it's like material enjoyment. Okay, we'll go for a walk. There's a swimming pool. There's this, that, whatever, But here again, one has to do the duty by being in a family. So you go. And it's kind of boring for me, but you kind of go and slowly, you kind of, Krishna makes arrangements that you don't have to go. Like this year, when they're going away for Easter, Krishna has made nice arrangements that I don't have to go. I said to them, oh, I will probably come for 1 or 2 days, but it's not, oh, I can't come by train, it's this, that. So Krishna then makes arrangements for you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Chandra. That's a practical realization of this principle. I was also thinking of the verse also, I think it might be in this chapter, or is it the 4th chapter, that describes that do not disturb the minds of ignorant persons who are attached to the results of fruitive activities. Do not unnecessarily disturb the mind. Instead, engage them in acts of devotion by which they can gradually become purified. So even Krishna, for some, he recommends the gradual process. Do not
Also,
disturb-
we can practice the varnashram if somebody is already got that seed of devotion, who doesn't know, then they are born in a Shudra family, they progress so much, and then next time they are born in a Vaishya family, and like that they progress in the varnashram.
Yeah, in the traditional sense of the term. But also to take note as well, what Prabhupada says at the end here, even those who have not followed the Vedic injunctions may adopt the principles of Krishna consciousness, and that will take the place of performance of Vedic yagnas and karmas. Yeah, so that's there as well. We can directly take to the process of Sharanagati and take shelter of Krishna. Did that
Basically,
help, Mother Lavanga Latika? Did that answer the question? Or
Yes, thanks. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So basically, these material enjoyments have to be dovetailed for you to make the progress. Dovetailed with, if you want to, if you're attached to money, you have to like make money in a way that's sanctioned by scripture, like, and use
yeah,
it.
honestly,
Mm,
you
and
should
then,
use- yeah.
yeah.
You should, you do it honestly, and you worship Krishna as well. There should be some worship of Krishna. Of course, yeah.
Donations and things.
Yeah, practice the principle of giving the fruits, If you're earning money, you may support the mission in some way of Krishna consciousness. And that way, you're dovetailing your skill or your propensity. Yeah. Because you may not be, for some, it's not an option just to become a brahmachari or a brahmacharini. You're out in the
If
world.
someone likes like going on holidays or something, I mean, that might be difficult to dovetail if you like beach holidays or something.
it's like this, Lavanga. It's like this. Okay, you go on holidays or something. But what I can see over the years, right? Yes, okay, you can go on holidays, but your consciousness is different. Like you could sit there. Like I went to my mom's 80th birthday. I went to Abu Dhabi. Yes, I went there, and they're sitting on the beach or on the swimming pool. I'll just sit on those chairs, and I'm sitting there reading Bhagavad Gita. So I'm still there with them, but I'm not in water, or I'm not.
So
Not, like you just have to, and Krishna just helps you from. It's like Prabhupada said, like two people go for shopping, like they've gone to the market to buy vegetables. Krishna cultural person and a material person. Like our culture, when I go on Fridays, okay, what am I going to cook for Rajbhog? What shopping am I buying? And there's another Indian ladies are all there. They,
But you have even devotees who go on beach holidays. I mean, they're not going.
I think what we have to at least, okay, so devotees, okay, at least if someone's a serious sadhaka, okay, as far as having holidays, then there's certain places they should be going, and certain places that they shouldn't be going. If they're going to, for instance, into a licentious, really materialistic mode of passion place to so-called go on holiday, then obviously, they might be compromised in some way. So therefore, devotees live in a mode of goodness. We are supposed to, we call the word holiday. it should be in that principle. So a holiday for devotees, say if you're living in the city, maybe to get out of the city, walk in the country on a japa walk, rather than going to Las Vegas.
And they get self-catering places.
Yeah, so we have to make choices which are going to help, so I think Mother Wang was raising a good point. I mean, it doesn't mean anything goes, anything that you can go anywhere and do anything and somehow you can dovetail it to Krishna. No, there may be some type of breaks or some type of holidays, which is just Maya, basically.
Yeah.
Just simple plain Maya. you know, and you're just using Krishna as an excuse. That's called hypocrisy. Yeah,
It's true.
called hypocrisy. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to Las Vegas or whatever it may be. I'm going to go to see, I'm going to go to see in the evening. I'm going to go along to see some dancing or some, I won't go down there, some strip tease or something, who's to know, but.
Yeah, or it's just a beach resort, with just where everybody's just, lounging around on the beach and then going for meals in the evening or looking at a cabaret in the evening.
Yeah, you flirt. That's where maybe devotee might be on the way, it's like flirting with Maya.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
But the devotees I've seen devotees go on these holidays and, I'm just thinking, yeah, but Krishna doesn't have to accept that. I mean, he doesn't have to think, my devotee needs a break from,
yeah,
their
main thing main point there as well is perhaps the main thing, just focus on our standards and focus on ourselves.
Yes, of course, yes.
We may see others who don't have the same standards or doing something which like we wouldn't do, it's not necessarily us to make an issue of it. Let's just worry about, at least we know what our standards are and what we will do and what we will not do.
Yeah. So the thing is, the point was that making progress while indulging your material desires.
Yeah.
So that would not be you would not be making progress by choosing that kind of like material activity, I would guess.
And I remember many years back, we went on a japa retreat to the island of Ij. Anyone been to the island of Ij? Somewhere in Croatia. Amazing place, crystal blue waters, this island in the middle of the, I forget which river. And it was, the devotees had hired out a big hotel, not such a fancy hotel, quite basic, but still it was a hotel, and there's a little bit of a beach there, not such a sandy beach, but still, and the sun was out. So Sachinanda Maharaj had to make an announcement just to remind everyone. For example, he said, actually, the way he speaks, very charming. He said, actually, as sannyasi, I went for a japa walk yesterday along the beach, and there were some of our ladies were in bikinis sunbathing. So he had to point out and remind devotees that we are devotees, even though we're in this place. We should keep in mind, we should not dress like gross materialists. So yeah, to remind, he said he found it quite, and they found it very embarrassing. Obviously, they understood this is a wrong thing to do. So yes, let's be careful how we move in this world and how we interact with this world, so we don't compromise our Krishna consciousness, be it taking a break or whatever it may be. I mean, at least from my experience, I see most devotees who take breaks, then from what I see, they go to Mayapur, Vrindavan, or they go to Radha Desh, or they go to Kirtan Mela or something. They go to Radha Desh Mellows,
All the retreats.
The retreats, so many retreats you can go on. That's the type of thing I see devotees doing mostly. I haven't really heard of much of what you've said, although no doubt it's there. Yeah. All right. Should we pause there? It's 7 o'clock. And let's get this right. Next Tuesday, we're reading from text 16. That's right, yeah. Okay, I'm going to write that down. Text 16. All right. Okay, thank you, everyone, for joining us for this discussion. I always find it very uplifting to have this Sangha. So thank you very much for joining. And tomorrow we had Bhagavatamrita, exciting. So Thursday, I think we missed last Thursday. I think I was on the train.
It was Ram Navami.
Sorry?
It was Ram Navami, sorry.
It was Ram Navami, that was it, yeah. So let's join together at 6 o'clock, the same time, 6 o'clock, but different book. We had Bhagavatamrita. Yeah. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Murli Prabhu ki jai.
And
Jai.
Shiva,
Krsna Sindhu eva